Hi, my name is Bayile Adeoti. I'm a social entrepreneur. I manage Decomai Limited, which is a social enterprise that helps empower women from BME communities into leadership and into forming their own enterprises. I formed Decomai from realising that there's a lack of role models for Black women like myself. I grew up with only a few role models that I saw on TV, people like June Sarpong. So that was the motivation behind Decomai, to find role models in different industries that young people in Scotland could identify with, and even just contact them for mentorship opportunities. So that's been running for the past 2 years. When I've grown up in Scotland, I have experienced a few racist incidents. One of them was in school. And I think one thing that's important to clarify is there is a difference. Racism is an intent to hurt somebody due to the colour of their skin, and it could be subconscious or conscious, an act of racism. But this act of racism happened, and it was a guy at school who was making monkey noises and calling me monkey. It had been like a back and forth thing with other people in the crowd. So somebody said, "Oh, he's been really racist to you. I think you should report it." And I reported it. The guy was really apologetic. He said that when he was saying that, he never meant it in a racist or malicious way. He was just doing it in the heat of the moment, in the banter of it all. And he was only 14 at the time. The headmaster was going to suspend him, and his best friend actually stepped in for him, and his best friend was Black, and said that the guy wasn't racist. He'd never been racist to him. His family welcomed him, and he also stood up and defended him and said he thought maybe it was an act of ignorance. And he was like, obviously you can't apologise for someone's ignorance, but he said it was not racist. And the guy was in tears, the one who had made the monkey noises. He just was so apologetic, and to this day I'm actually now friends with the guy. I've been friends with him since that incident, and we've had so many other mutual friends. And it actually turned out at the back of that, when I got to know him, he actually had most of his friends were Black, so it was just an act of ignorance. There are other racist incidents, but just for the sake of this, I just wanted to share that incident. And obviously we've seen quite a lot happening over the past few months because of George Floyd and what happened in America, which was such a tragic incident. But I think it's also brought to awareness in the surface the deep extent of what racism is and how it can affect people, and I guess the racial profiling that happens, whether it's here or in America. And racial profiling happens everywhere. And one thing I will say is I've got friends who work for Police Scotland, and I talk to them all the time. I've spoken to them recently during this, so I'm not having a go at Police Scotland. I'm not having a go at anyone in the police force. I respect everything that they do and how the good policemen and women are out there to protect us. So thank you for the work that you do. But racial profiling does exist, and many people in the Black community will experience profiling on an ongoing and regular basis. And the George Floyd incident is making people more aware of the racism that goes on. There was an Olympic athlete only 2 weeks ago who was stopped in her car. She was holding a baby who was under 1 in the back seat, and her boyfriend, who was also I think an athlete, was driving, and he was stopped because he was driving a top of the range car. And the police stopped him and pulled him out of the car, and also dragged her out by force out of the car. What followed on from that was just indescribable. The woman was screaming. Obviously she was recording all this, and it was only after that the police actually realised who she was. She was a top athlete, but that was after you saw in the video the treatment that her and her partner had. And they were trying to say that they'd done nothing wrong, there was nothing in the car, but just because of the car that he drove, they assumed that he was up to no good. So these incidents do happen, but they have also opened up opportunities for conversations to take place, and it's all conversations in the workplace. and conversations in other areas, walks of life, where people are looking at their own conscious and unconscious bias on how they respond to Black people, and how even just they respond to people of other colour. And it could be something that I've also looked at myself. I've looked into my heart. I've looked and thought, how do I respond to a person? I've looked at my friendship circles, and it's conversations that I'm having with my friends and how we can just move forward and just be make a positive impact in our communities and just around the people that we influence, and even around our kids. I'm fortunate that I do have an eclectic mix of friends that I can call best friends, that I can call upon them and ring them and just offload how I feel, offload what's going on in the world. And my son is growing up with these families around him. They love him so much and they don't see a difference in the colour. My son has got a best friend who's white, and they wear identical clothes. They love the same thing. They have the identical shoes, and that's what it's all about. And I hope our kids can grow up together without stepping away from each other, thinking I can't associate with them because they are white or they are Black or because they stay in such and such an area. I have used my faith quite a lot over the past few months and even past few years. My faith in Christ Jesus has helped me stay grounded. I focus on his love for me and how he wanted us to love one another just as he loved us, and to love our neighbours. That's the second greatest commandment, was to love our neighbours. So who is your neighbour? Your neighbour might not look like you, but your neighbour is the person next to you and the person in front of you and the person behind you. They might not eat the same food, they might not worship the same God, but they're still your neighbour. And that's what we need to do. We need to keep loving one another. I think in times like this, when things are turbulent and emotions are everywhere, it's important that everybody has got a faith in something that they believe in to help them stay anchored, help them stay focused on something that is greater than themselves. I know racism and what's happening at the moment is a cause that is great, but there's something that's even greater than that. There's something that's even greater than ourselves that we can pursue, that will help us move forward and also help the racism end. And it's only when we have that, I think that really does help. I know there has been a lot of worldwide support to end racism. We've seen it in the media, we've seen it on social media. And it's important that during this time that we're still posting on our social media, we're still supporting businesses, we're still talking about ending racism and doing all that we can as individuals. If we all did something, then we would keep moving the world, we would keep moving things forward. So but it's also important that as we're doing this, we're also looking around and also looking to see what other things can we do together as a community. It's not an individual thing that we're doing here. It's a community. We can only do things in a community, and it can't be done in isolation. Overcoming racism will not be done by one individual person. It has to be a community of people marching together to the same beat. And I believe that this will only stop and this will only end if we join together as a community, if we keep coming together as communities and using our voices, using our platforms, using our circles of influence to bring racism to an end. And that's the only way things do come to an end, by collective voices speaking together and marching to the same beat. One person cannot end racism themselves. It has to be a community of people, a strong community working together, not in isolation. I know there's lots of pockets of different people doing different things, but I believe everybody needs to come together. And for yourself, if you're looking to support this, what can you do? You can support local businesses that are led by Black entrepreneurs. You can support local causes. There's so many directories and different lists of businesses that are doing things, whether it's products, whether it's food, whether it's even services. But I am all about supporting all local businesses, because I believe it's the local economy and these small businesses like myself and like others, but even I've got friends who are just who are white, but they also have their own businesses. We need to support each other, and that's what will, money talks. So we need to make sure that we're spending our money in the right places and moving things forward, but also having conversations. There's so many educational books that you can read to educate yourself, educate your family, and just help this move forward.